Hey guys, today is all about summer themed decor. I'm showing you how to put a little beachy spin on your vacation photos, and then I'm testing different methods for creating faux sea glass and revealing which one worked the best to create vintage looking fisherman's floats. And I'm pretty excited, so let's just hop into the projects. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Actually, I guess I should be welcoming myself back. As most of you know, I took some time off after my mother's death in April, but I'm back, refreshed, and ready to jump back in. Thanks for sticking around and bearing with me. For this first project today, I'm creating a fun beachy gallery wall using 3 11x14 canvases. I'm first giving them a quick coat of the pool color by Waverly. Actually, come to think of it, I think these have been lying around in my stash for a while. I'm pretty sure I got these canvases off of Amazon thinking I would use them to display my boys' Zoom schedules during virtual school. Just another example of how I always think I'm more organized than I actually am. Now I'm using a dry brush technique to add some of the mineral color, also by Waverly. My goal is to make these look like wood slats, and the mineral color is perfect for that because it looks like wood grain is showing through. I just gather a tiny bit of paint on the brush, dab most of it off on a paper, and then lightly brush onto the surface. I move in the same direction back and forth to give the look of wood grain. After the mineral, I also dry brushed on some of the plaster color to give the canvases some extra dimension. Then I used my dark graphite Crayola twistable pencil I've used on many projects before to add slat lines. I added one line in the middle and then split each side for a total of 4 slats per board. I ran the pencil back and forth several times so that the lines were somewhat uneven, like they would be if it was actual wood slats. Next, I'm attaching 3 black frames I got from the Dollar Tree. The frames are 5x7 with a white mat, which is made for a 4x6 photo. I've taken a few vacation photos I snapped last summer and decided for this project I wanted them to be black and white. I decided to use Velcro command strips to attach the frames to the canvases. This way I can switch out the pictures or even the frames at a later time if I wish. Today's video is part of Heidi Sonboul's Summer DIY Challenge. I've linked both her channel and the playlist for the challenge in the description box below. She's been a huge inspiration to me and is a big reason I decided to give the YouTube creating a go. So definitely check out her channel and also check out the playlist too. It's always good for some really good inspiration. And here they are. I just love how these turned out. They're a super fun way to incorporate photos into seasonal summer decor, and I think they look amazing on my table, but they'd also look great on a gallery wall. Okay, so I'm really excited for this next project. I absolutely love beach glass, and over the years I've seen a bunch of different methods to achieve the look, so I thought I'd test out a couple approaches to see what worked best for me. Today I'm attempting to turn Dollar Tree plastic Christmas balls, which come in packs of 2 for $1, into vintage looking fishing floats like they used back in the 1800s. I had these balls left over from the Christmas season, but you can also get them year-round from Amazon. For the project you'll need Mod Podge, and I'm testing out both matte and glossy, and you'll also need food coloring. I'm testing out both regular and neon food coloring because I had both on hand. Alright, so I'm just going to start out by covering what didn't work for me, and I think it's partly due to the bulbs having a small opening that didn't allow a lot of air circulation, so keep that in mind when deciding whether you want to try this or not. This was the easiest method though, so I was disappointed that it didn't work. Pretty straightforward. Pour some Mod Podge in a cup, mix in some food coloring to your desired shade, then pour it into the ball and swirl it around until the entire inside is coated. Easy peasy, right? I set the balls inside small styrofoam cups to drip dry for a couple hours, then moved them to a larger drying contraption I had created by suspending skewers over a box. Unfortunately, a whole 26 hours later, the balls were still opaque because the Mod Podge was still wet, so I was glad to discover that I could just wash them out and start all over. Like I said, this method might work for a piece that's more open like a vase or a glass, or for someone who's more patient than me and might be willing to wait a few extra days. Let me know in the comments if you've had any luck with this method. All was not completely lost from the first go-round. At least I discovered that the neon food coloring better achieved the aquamarine color I was going for, so I used the neon for all future rounds. So for my next try, I decided to try painting the outside of the balls. I mixed 3 different colors, one that was 3-to-1 blue to green, 1 equal parts blue and green, and 1 3-to-1 green to blue, all with the neon colors. Then I used a smooth brush to add the mixture to the outside of the balls. I'll be honest though, during the painting process, I was not thinking I would be happy with the outcome. It was so super streaky, and no matter how light-handed I was, I couldn't make it streak-free. In fact, I was so sure I'd hate them that I only painted one of them on camera because I thought it was sure to be another fail. So while that one dried, I decided to move on to my third method, which was adding a little bit of water to the mixtures. I thought this would be the perfect balance between the 2 previous methods. It would make the mixture thinner so it would drip out and dry faster, but it would achieve a less streaky finish by being able to use the method of coating the inside. Win-win, right? And it did work well, but maybe too well. I think it just dripped out too easily, so it didn't leave enough color in the ball. I unfortunately didn't get footage of them, but they were basically clear with just the slightest hint of color. Later I'll have a side-by-side of the finished balls, one with the watered down inside coat method and one with the painted outside method, so you can just judge for yourself. Ultimately, I decided to go back and painted the outside of most of the balls, but I did keep a couple with the lighter tint as I thought it added variation and made them look even more real. This next part is optional. I ended up using my hot knife to remove the neck of the ornaments. If you don't have a hot knife, you can create your own by heating a utility knife under a flame until it's hot enough to melt through the plastic. Old vintage fishing buoys all had netting over them. You can purchase fishing net, but I wanted to try for a more vintage look by tying my own. I just used Dollar Tree jute twine and cut 5 links that were approximately 33 inches long. I started by folding the first strand in half and placing it horizontally on the table. The twine wanted to curl, so I ended up having to use scissors to hold it down. Then I created what in the macrame world is called a lark's head knot. Take a new strand and fold it in half. Bring the loop side under the spine strand and bring the loose ends up through the loop and pull tight. It's a little tricky to explain, so hopefully the video shows this part well enough, and if not, see if you can find an image of a lark's head knot like this one courtesy of macramelovers.com. I repeated this with the 3 other strands, so ultimately it looked like one string across the top with 4 other strands hanging down. Now for the fun part. Take the ends of the top spine and feed them through the loop of the top spine. What will result is a circle that looks like a sun with 5 strands stretching out from the middle ring. You should still be able to adjust where the strings are by sliding them, as well as how big the ring is, so space them out how you like. My ring was about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. I centered the ring on the bottom of the ball and taped it down to hold it in place. The tape will be removed later, so don't worry about how that looks. I also placed the ball inside a roll of duct tape to help keep it stable. You'll see after a couple of knots that I end up taping the ball to the roll to hold it in place even more. Now we're ready to start tying. Each strand has 2 strings, and since it's a circle, it doesn't matter which strand you start with. Take the left string from one piece and join it with the right strand from the piece to its left and tie a simple knot. Then you take the right side of the strand and tie it to the left string from the strand to its right. Continue around the circle until all 10 strands are tied to their neighbor. It should create what looks like a little flower with 5 petals. Then you repeat this process of separating the 2 strands from each knot and tying them to a strand from the neighboring knot. I found it easiest to work around and around in the circle so that I wouldn't lose track of which layer I was working on. It looks like a mess because the twine is so curly, but this really is a simple process. There were about 5 total layers for these Dollar Tree ornaments, but that'll depend on the size of the ball. About halfway through, I inverted the ball. It helped me to pull the strings upward while tying to ensure that the strings would be tight around the ball. Not all of the loops are exactly the same size, but I actually like that. I think it looks like old vintage buoy nets that have been tousled and stretched over time. When I got to the top, I just gathered all the strings together and tied them in a knot. For some of the buoys, I braided the remaining strands, and others I just left the strands like they were so it looked like unraveled cord. So as I mentioned, I forgot to get footage of the final results of the two methods of coloring, so here is a side-by-side of the finished product. The clearer one on your right is the watered down Mod Podge swirled around the inside. It's really surprising how transparent the end result is because it starts out as a creamy pastel color. The one on your left is the process of painting tinted Mod Podge that wasn't watered down. This was matte Mod Podge, and I think it provided the best result because true sea glass does have a matte type finish. It's not glossy like polished stone. I got this cute wood crate style basket from the thrift store on half off day for just 45 cents, and I just quickly painted it with a plaster color by Waverly. I didn't worry about solid covering because I wanted a rustic beach result, so I even ended up sanding down the edges so that some of the wood showed through. And here they are. This little basket was the perfect display for my faux fishing buoys, don't you think? And the balls were 2 for $1, so this whole project was done for under $5. You can't beat that. Thanks for joining me today. If you found me from Heidi's playlist, I'd love for you to stick around and subscribe. And don't forget to hit the bell so you can stay up to date with my projects. And thanks again to all my existing subscribers for sticking with me these last few weeks while I handled my mother's estate. I'm so grateful. See you next time. Bye.